I'm here with Missy Marti. She's an author who has several books under her belt. She wrote her first book called A Beautiful Mess. And then the book she's just finished is called Reset, A Fresh Start. And she's on the third. But today we're going to be speaking with her about her second. And if you want to jump to her website where the book is, it's missymarti.com. So really easy. So Missy, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I love that your book aligned perfectly with the purpose of this event that I'm putting on. And you're my grounding final speaker. And I just feel like this is great because people can be led to your book as well as the concepts in the book. So what I find interesting is often we are living our lives and we think things are happening to us. We are like most people live in a victim state. So we tell stories about our family, our history, and rarely are they empowering stories of people standing in their power and looking at opportunity. Years ago, when I went to a Tony Robbins, like maybe 15 or 20 years ago, they had people saying a mantra, all I need is within me now. And they were saying, everything happens for me, not to me. And I've heard that through several different spiritual mediums and speakers. And really, you're talking about that in this book, which I love. It's a life of being empowered. So what are some of the ways, I mean, you had a dynamic experience that led you to the understandings that you're sharing in this book. And a lot of coaches go through dynamic experiences as well that compel us to want to share that and make it easier for other humans. So would you like to, I'm just curious and excited about what you're going to share with us about the process of becoming acquainted with your breakdowns or your frustration or your resistance or the things that are happening to you and what to do with it.
So for me, it's really, I tell the story of how, you like to, blame other situations, or you blame the situation on others rather than taking the ownership of it. And you have to realize you're the common denominator in your story. So if the same thing keeps happening over and over again, there's something you have to change in order to actually get a different outcome. They say the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, we do that a lot in small ways and in big ways. Yeah. So for me, I had to stop and look within. So like the very first thing I talk about in my book is to stop lying to yourself. Stop saying that you don't have a part in this, that it's everybody else, and that things just keep happening beyond your control, because we choose who we allow in our lives. We choose what we want to believe. We choose what we focus on in life. A lot of people focus on the negative rather than the positive, which I found myself doing a lot of the time. Unfortunately, I like to think of myself as a positive person, but I realized I wasn't as positive as I thought I was. I was positively wrong,
Yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of us think of ourselves as positive, but like, how did you recognize you weren't being? Did you just start listening in to what you were actually saying to yourself?
So I moved to Florida from Nebraska, which was great for me because I'm like 3 miles from the ocean and I can get out there at least 4 to 5 times a week. And just slowing down and taking the time to face yourself. We get so busy in our lives and it's so easy to push things to the side because, well, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. I don't have time for this. You really do have time for it. You're just choosing not to because it's harder to face yourself. So I go to the ocean and it tells me a lot. I mean, it doesn't, it calms my spirit and my soul to where I get a clear perspective on what's really happening. So
yeah, we have all this clutter around us. We have all these exciting things to look at, all these distracting things to take our attention. And so, your place. We all know the place where we can be in the now moment.
Right.
And then we can hear ourselves. So, okay. So you're talking about getting there. And then how did you get honest with yourself? Because I mean, we often have been fooling ourselves for decades. So
right. That's harder. That's when you really have to stop and I like to write it down, like everything that's going on, good, bad, and ugly, and not try and dissect what I should write and what I shouldn't write, and who's going to read it or whatever. Burn it when you're done. I don't care what you do with it, but just write everything down And I kind of let it sit for a little while, you know? And then I'll come back to it with fresh eyes and go, okay, now this makes sense. Now this is garbage. And I can do something about this. This is beyond my control because I don't know. I tend to be kind of a control freak and a perfectionist and all of those wonderful qualities that make me me.
Which are qualities of a lot of really successful people
It
who
is.
are just not able to get into that high satisfaction because they're going and feeling like a victim to their life. So this is perfect that that's your quadrant of operation.
I know it very, very well. And like I said, you know, we know our flaws. We don't have to have somebody else point out our flaws to us. You know, we need people that are encouraging and supportive when we do make the decisions that we want to actually make changes in our lives. And that's the second thing I talk about after you stop lying to yourself is to commit to the change and know that you've got a support system and not believing that you're weak, that you can't do it. Like we all get in this mindset of, well, I've been doing it this way for years and it's comfortable. It's comfortable to stay in that rut that you're in, you know, because that the ground is worn and you know what to expect and you know how it's going to happen. And it's a lot more difficult to get up out of that rut and forge a new path. So you have to commit to doing that. And it's hard.
What are some of the ways you suggest? Because that's a real shift for a lot of people.
So writing it down,
Okay.
holding yourself accountable. You have to write down. So one of the things I did here that I've never done before was actually invest in myself physically. Like I always said, I didn't have time. I'm a single mom of 5 kids. I didn't have time to breathe, let alone go to the gym, you know, which was really a lie in and of itself as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't choose to make that part of my routine. So down here, I hooked up with beach yoga, which was great for me. And one of the things that I had to do was write out, you know, what I was currently doing that I didn't like, you know, the things that were happening that I didn't like. And then the opposite of that, you have to write out the opposite, you know. So then you burn what's not working. And then you put the opposite in front of your face on a daily basis. You look at it, you read it to yourself, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say it again and again until you actually really believe it. Because a lot of times when you first start, you're like, yeah, well, you don't believe it. You just keep saying it, but you're like, you eventually get to the point where you start to believe it. And then when you start to believe it, you are a powerful force. When you believe in yourself and you don't need that external validation from somebody else or something else, you're unstoppable.
Yeah. So it's interesting when we first even come up with an idea, often we don't believe it.
Right.
And or someone that loves us and sees a direction for us might say something and we're like, oh no, that wouldn't work. And they might say it again. And we're like, huh, that's possible. So even within ourselves with ideas, we do this. So it would be natural to know that you get to work out in this way. You get to like do the reps,
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
do the reps on it and until you really see it, because we can choose whatever we believe.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to believe we're worthless or out of shape or not capable. We can exercise our mind and choose an empowering belief for ourselves and step into that.
Your mind is a muscle as well.
Yeah.
Your mind, it will work if you work it, but it will wander off if you let it wander off.
Yeah, and we get to create momentum within our thinking too. So I guess that's what you're talking about. Writing down the opposite of where you've been thinking, what you really want instead of what you don't want, and then doing the reps with that.
Exactly. And it's focusing on the positive. So don't say, I don't want to be fat or I don't want to be unsuccessful. You are, I want to be successful. This is what I see as success, because what is success to everybody is different. You know, what I use as a success marker is going to be different than what you use.
Yeah.
But doesn't make me less successful. It's just different.
Yeah. So as I'm rehabbing a hip flexor right now. So as I start to walk and run again, I think to myself, I'm an incredible athlete. I am an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
I am vital. I am strong. My muscles are in great shape. And I visualize myself that way. I don't even say I want to be. I say I am, and I step in there. So great. So be honest with yourself, commit to change. And we talked a little bit about how we're very intelligent down deep, but we often pretend we don't know. So you want to talk about that? That's really intriguing.
So my other one is, we ask what we already know. So like when you ask people for their opinion about something or advice, you know, deep down inside, it may be way underneath the cavern, you know, under a rock, under the water, whatever, you know that you know that you know. And you're just wanting somebody to validate. If you're making the wrong choice, you want them to validate that, make you feel better and give you warm fuzzies when you know that's really not what they're going to say. That's why we get mad a lot of times if our friends are like, you already know my answer, you know, and you're like, oh, I already know your answer. Don't tell me that. You know, I want you to stroke me. Well, you can't do that if you want change. You have to realize that it's going to be uncomfortable and you already know the answer of what you need to do. You just have to believe in yourself, which leads to my fourth one, which is loving yourself and knowing that you're stronger than you think you are. We're not as weak as we make ourselves out to be. We are not victims. We really aren't. We are victors. We are strong and powerful. Yes, we are. And far too often we just give in to the weak because it's easy, you know?
And we can
But it's
find a
really
lot
not.
of people to do that with us. We can find a lot
yeah.
of people who are willing to let go of their power and talk and complain in a corner.
Yes. And that's the thing. You need people that you can vent to, but you need to go a step beyond the venting and go to solving the problem, because venting does nothing other than make you feel good for the moment. And then you get right back in that position again, and then you feel bad all over again. And it's this awful cycle that you just go around and around. And I say to get up to stop that, it's like a merry-go-round. You have to stop, just period. You're not going
Or
to get off.
jump off. Yeah, jump and roll.
You jump off. Sometimes we have to do that too. I did
Yeah.
that one. So
Yeah. So what's happening in that where we connect with other people who are complaining? What's going on there where we seem to find others who are also disenfranchised, and it's a powerful place. It's hard to get out of that and jump off of that.
well, it is because you feel legitimized in your self-pity, in your self-loathe, you know, well, I'm not doing, you know, it's truthfully, we are creatures that we like to be validated and we like to be told that we're right. We like to, you know, oh, this is just beyond your control. And, you know, oh, poor you. You need people that are going to challenge you to be better and to be different. Sometimes you're not going to like it. I have some friends, I will be honest with you, they can really irritate the snot out of me, but I know they love me and I know that it's pure hearts that are saying those things to like shake me and go, wait a minute, you are wrong and you know you're wrong. And if you just stop for a second, you'll admit it. And you have to
Yeah.
admit it.
It takes courageous friends. Those are the friends you want to be around that can stop you for a moment and say, you know, you're lying.
Yes.
You know, you're
Exactly.
lying to yourself.
Mhm.
You get 2 more minutes to vent on this, and then you need to shift, or I'm going home.
Well, honestly, in the last situation that I was in, I actually had some friends that were like, Melissa, I'm not talking about this with you again. I love you. I know that you know what to do. You know that I love you, but we are not discussing this. And
Oh,
they
that's
would be very
powerful.
clear and they'd be like, we are not talking about it. Other times it ticked me off, but I needed it.
I had a friend who used to say, well, you must be enjoying this on some level, or you wouldn't continue it. Oh my gosh, that made me mad. But
Yes.
I would thank her for it because it reminded me this wasn't pleasant. And there's something about it that I'm not letting go of. And it's
Yeah,
to my benefit if I dig in on it and get rid of it, let it go.
it is.
Yeah, we can
And
create
so,
them. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So there is the saying that I like to say. So life is effort and ease. You have to put forth the effort, which is uncomfortable at the time, to enjoy the ease of what comes after. You can't have ease without effort. It doesn't work. So it hurts for a little bit, but then you get to enjoy the benefits of that hurting. That's true with exercise. It's true with, you know, your finances. You know, we want instant gratification, but we can't have that. It's meaningless if you don't actually have to work for it. You don't appreciate it. You don't handle it appropriately. So that's what I like to say, you know, when you're trying to make changes in your life, it's going to take effort for you to enjoy the ease.
It's kind of the skin in the game. You know, when I've had experiences where people want to give a scholarship to somebody to take a real transformational class. And the
Mhm.
people who got the scholarship are not there.
Right.
They didn't pay for it. with their money, with their effort, with their resources. And so they haven't brought themselves to the table. So in essence, you could look at this as the work that you get to do that helps shift you to the new place. And it's a word you it also helps you feel worthy for it.
Yeah.
You it's like if you were able to beam over to Hawaii for a vacation, it wouldn't be as special as when you are creating it and on your way over there and the journey to it, and then you finally arrived. There is
Right.
something special about that prep time where the work goes in.
Yes. I have 5 children, and my second is a boy, and he's had to work for his education. I have some other children that just breezed through and whatever. Well, he's actually graduating from college in May, and he's like, "Who'd have thought? Out of all the kids, I was the only one that's going to graduate from college, Mom." And I'm like, he appreciates it, and he understands the work that he put in to have that, and you just carry it differently, and you handle it better
Yeah.
when you've actually had to do something for it.
And it's not like actually like a penance. It's
Right.
we get opportunities to pick up the knowledge that we need along our way to the thing that we want.
Mhm.
And a lot of times those adverse situations, they they notch us up to that level where we are going to be able to step into that thing that we envision for ourselves. So
Yeah.
where you are now is quite different from who you're going to be when you are that, or get to be that, or get to have that. So there's some work you get to do on the way to develop yourself. It's
Yeah.
really a personal development journey.
It is.
And, like you said before, wherever you go, you take yourself with you.
Yeah.
So when you see that repeating relationship that's bad and it looks like the same one, but it's different people over and over, or a bad job that looks the same variables, someone leaving you each time, that's telling you you get to shift something
Right.
within yourself. And it's an inside job.
And it's, if you look at it as an opportunity to shift yourself rather than, oh, there's something wrong with me. It's the mindset. It all comes back to your mind. And like I said, it's a muscle. So if you focus on the positive, if this is my opportunity to become better, you're going to be more successful than if you're like, oh, I got to change this about me. I'm a terrible person. I can't get this right. You see the difference in the, you can feel the difference just in the words. So
Yeah. So everything's okay. We can live our life any way we want. There's nothing wrong with any of it.
right.
Just what do you want? Our life is full of choice. And when you're standing in a victim position, you feel like you're living by default. Things are coming, you're responding, putting up
Right.
blocks here and there. And if you can step into your power, then you're standing in a place where you know that you control. You're the one who's creating. So Missy, would you mind sharing your story, some of your story on how you ended up learning what you've learned here and becoming so impactful? Because you were doing other things and your life kind of directed you in a way that created this story. And I just think it's insightful for people to be able to look into their own life and see what might be happening there so they can
Right.
shift.
So when I got divorced, it was about 9 years ago, and I'm do accounting as a regular profession. So when you are handling people's finances, like multi-million-dollar companies, they really look into your personal life as well. And unfortunately, I had moved every year after the divorce, and I was in this interview, and just kind of going through this and going through this, and the guy sat back and he looked at me and he goes, your life's kind of a mess. And I was so offended. I'm like, how dare you say that to me? I'm doing the best I can as a single mom, and and got in my car, and I don't know if you talk to yourself in the car, but I do. And I'm like, how dare he say that to me? Holy cow, does he know what has happened to me and how I got to be here and all this other stuff? And I heard this voice inside my head going, your life is a mess. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to let this define you. You can make the choices to change and to define yourself. I always say you're the author of your own life. Like you said, we all get to make choices. You can't complain about the situation you're in if you're the one writing the story, because you can erase, you can cross it out, you can cut it up, you can burn it, whatever you need to do to make that change. some changes are drastic and some are just minor, minor adjustments that we have to make. So
Yeah, if I could add in there, you you can shift that anytime you want. You
that,
can, we often think that we're just treading water, and the more that you take the more that you stand in responsibility, the less it hurts when you make a mistake, because you're like, yeah, I'll make an adjustment. Yeah,
right.
I own that. Instead
Yep,
of being a victim where you have to give out who's responsible for your life because you're not in control. So it might seem hard at first, but actually, don't you find that when you're standing in the power position, life is so much easier?
it is. It is. And you feel so much better too, because you are in control, and not in control like a control freak way, but you're like, you can take the criticisms and you can take the fallout, if you will, because you know that you have the control to change it.
Yeah.
You do that from a place of power, not a place of, insignificance and thinking, I can't get there, because you know that you can, because you have overcome other things in the past.
Yeah, so there you are sitting in the car and you just had incredible feedback from someone that's highly annoying, which means there's something real there. So
Exactly.
how did you, most people will ignore it or just be mad. How did you shift that?
So I started writing. I had given up writing for years. And I journaled, I did my own thing like that, but I actually really started writing. And that's when everything started to change. And that's when I got the manuscript for Beautiful Mess. And, that came out and I thought, oh, I've arrived, la, la, and I'm like, because I had such success and such a great response and, smooth sailing from here on out. No, because there were a lot of thought processes that hadn't changed. I had begun the journey, but it's just a journey. And, we have ups and downs in life. Everyone does. We have successes and failures. And I actually like to change it from failures to learning experiences, because you only fail if you don't try.
Yeah.
Um,
Opportunities for adjustment.
yes, they're learning opportunities. And so when I got down to Florida and everything kind of fell apart, that was my opportunity to really, really, truly stop and change my life. Not just, the thoughts that came in, but like my entire life. Because, we are not just a physical being. We're not just mental. We have a spirit too, and a soul. And you have to work on all of them. They have to agree with each other. Like my mind would fight my body because it just did. That was part of who I was. So I had to get to the place where I changed that. So then that's when it was mid-process. This book was supposed to be called something else. It was supposed to be called You Are More. But I changed it so drastically that I put Reset in. I felt like that was a better title. So
Yeah, that is a great title. So do you have can you talk at all about what you started shifting? What did you do first? Because you talked about writing. What did you start noticing as you were writing? So, okay, let me stop and go back a bit. What you're doing is you're going into something that you do. It's something that you've done. You write. So for the listener, what might you suggest? Like, I'm an artist, so I might go to draw, or
right.
something that can allow me to be my authentic being so I can hear myself. What other sorts of things would you suggest for people?
So I would suggest surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you on what it is you want to change, because you have the power within yourself, but it is much more beneficial and advantageous if you have others to help support you and hold you accountable when you start to kind of wander off, because we all do to some degree. Discipline is doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. So you need people helping you to stay on the path.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that helps. Celebrating your wins, celebrate them, even if they're small. Heck, I don't know, whatever it is. You brushed your teeth for the day and you hadn't brushed them for a week because you've been suffering depression. That's a win. We are so hard on ourselves that we don't see the good sometimes. I'm guilty of that anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know
I think
about anybody
everybody,
else, but I am.
certainly we are our own hardest critic.
Yes.
So
you have to celebrate your successes. And then when you do fall, or when you do struggle with the thoughts of, well, I don't really feel like I can change, then you go back to what you've written down, or you go back to painting or drawing, or sometimes it's just getting a cup of coffee and sitting out on your lanai and going, oh, I find that nature just, it brings something out in people. It's like we're supposed to be out in nature. We're supposed to be in the sun. We're supposed to,
Yeah.
my favorite is to be in the rain. I love to take a walk along the beach in the rain. It's like the sublime for me. And I know that's weird, but
Oh, it's beautiful. Mhm.
it's just, yeah.
I like to
There's
go
no word.
paddling through this river corridor when it just stops time for me.
It
And
does.
it makes me present to everything right there. I'm not off somewhere else.
Right.
And by a few minutes in there or 45 minutes in there, and all sorts of great ideas start emerging.
This is true. And you find your creativity and you find who you are when you take away all the distractions. That's another thing. You got to take away the distractions. I mean, I was out last night for dinner with a friend, and everybody's sitting at the table doing this, looking,
Yeah.
and nobody's, even talking to each other at the tables. And you're like, it's sad because we lose touch with ourselves. We lose touch with the people that we love when we get too distracted.
Yeah. It's interesting in this time in history to write a handwritten note is such a gift. To
Yeah.
sit at a table with somebody and not pick up your phone is such a
Right.
gift to yourself and the person you're with.
Yes.
It's and in the last couple of years that we've experienced, just having an opportunity to be together and undistracted is
Yes.
such a gift you can give somebody. So you can set yourself out by just being present.
Exactly. That's my next book, actually. That's
It is.
practicing the gift of being present. That's
Yeah.
that's my next one. So
It's
yeah.
amazing how our society has created a world where if you're just present, you can be a massive gift to another human being.
True. Yeah. We went to this concert after dinner, and it was funny because the lead singer, they've been around for 47 years. So it's a really well-known band. And he goes, "It's great to see you all tonight." He goes, "Heck, it's great to see anyone anymore." After it's
It
like,
is.
"Oh, people."
It's such a treat. Yeah. So where can people pick up your books?
So missymartai.com. You can order Beautiful Mess right now. You can pre-order Reset, and it's going to be available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million. There's like 32,000 different outlets you can find it at. You'll be able to get it anywhere you want.
Yeah, reset, a fresh start. That's good for any new chapter. It can be a dramatic new chapter, or it can just be that you're in a pretty good spot, but you want some support in stepping into the next new thing.
Yeah.
And a great life is constant mini chapters in my mind
Yes,
of
ma'am.
opportunity. Yeah. Are you on social media, Missy, as well?
I am. Instagram, it's Missy M. Martai. So there's an M in between the two. And then on Facebook, it's under Missy Martai. So,
We really appreciate getting a chance to chat with you as you're outside in the nice weather.
it's beautiful today.
Yeah.
Clouds, it's nice.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing what you learned through your own life experience in a book so that we can take that in and get served from it. So thank you for being here. Thanks for the work that you're doing, and continued success to you, Missy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.